You know, Pat, this show's the best part of my week, hands down. Nothing comes close. Of course, I enjoy time with my wife and my dog and all that, but I love doing the show. At the same time, I fucking hate doing the show because I love the starting line, and I just know that, again, with the all-time low episode, we love this band. They mean the world to us, but we're going to say some, I don't know, not negative stuff. Just can't love everything, right?
Well, speak for yourself there, buddy.
Anyways, I'm excited for this episode, but I don't know. If it's negative, do we need to say it at all? I don't know. What do you want? What do the people want? I don't even know what I want, so how are they supposed to know?
Okay,
but anyways,
before we spiral too far, let's gather up the Reminair Duels, shout out to Tornado Shanks, and let's just get the party started. Hit the intro.
What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast.
Okay.
Reminair Duels.
I know, I love that so much. It's like got the energy of Reminiscences, but adds a little like Victorian era, like fanciness to it somehow. Okay.
Very Bone Palace Ballet of him.
Oh, wow. Hey, there you go. Yeah. I will say this. I will not name the other emo pod that made some joke about bassists the other day, and I saw some of our followers talking like, hey, bassists, I want to say, doing a starting line episode, we are a very pro bassist show as a former shitty, garage band bassist myself. The Tyson versus Kenny is the new Tell All Your Friends versus Louder now on the show. We embrace Mr. Hoppus, anyway, I saw that. I was like, let's just corner that market now. Pro bassist show. There's gonna be a lot of pro Kenny talk here today, even if Tom has some troubles with what I'm guessing will be the music video itself. Remains to be seen. But how you doing, man? Are you ready for this? We haven't talked about, a lot of Fueled by Ramen talk over the last year, but I think we're ready to hit the Drive-Thru Records universe here a little bit. We're gonna pick away at it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We haven't talked enough about the starting line, and if there's any band that doesn't get enough credit for their contributions to society as a whole, this is probably one of them. So,
society as a whole, yeah. Let's inflate it. Let's pump it up now before we take big fat dumpies later. We haven't even said this yet. We're talking about Bedroom Talk today. The music video for Bedroom Talk off of 2005 big year, as we've established, based on a true story. This was the album that came after 2002's Say It Like You Mean It, but before 2007's Direction. Just Googling this helped me frame some things in my mind, because we like the starting line, but sometimes, Best of Me, it makes sense that would have been something that hit my brain first. But this kind of helped me like, okay, so they were big for a stretch there. They weren't just like this, early, younger me would have been like, yeah, Best of Me, they were one hit wonder and then went nowhere. No, they had an interesting 3-album run there. Any thoughts on their like prime years, that 5-year stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I know that we're a part of the problem, but I often wonder why they're not more talked about. I mean, they put out, and not even just great songs, great albums. And I think it was Chris Lukey a couple weeks ago who gave me some shit for not knowing. I think it was the 2004 or 5 draft where we didn't pick anything from this album. And I had to admit that like I didn't really know this one as well as the previous album. So there was one day where I was building my bass traps and I just listened to this album on repeat for like 10 hours as I was building. And they are a great album band. Like they deserved more fame and for a longer period of time. But it's easy to say that knowing that I'm also, part of the problem that just continuously talks about Blink-182 like they need any more awareness or whatever.
Well, it's interesting the whole if you just stop doing stuff, you age like a fine wine. You just get to like be, it's like, oh my God, starting line, let's go back and dig through the stuff that is only through the lens of nostalgia at this point. And we talked, Weezer just came out with a new album recently. We talk about Blink growing old and continuing to be productive. Are you just going to ruin your legacy? Do you live long enough to see yourself become the villain type thing? Here we are, just guys being dudes, quoting The Dark Knight and just hanging out, being awful and doing podcasting. Should have been a phone call between us all these years. Okay. No. No, but the Starting Line is an interesting case of that. It's like, oh my God, that's a very interesting 3-album run.
Sorry, I'm so taken by that. This should have been a phone call. It's like this should have been an email, but for like broy white dudes.
Every podcast. Yes. Just apologies to everyone. If you're here, sorry. Okay. So I wanted to get to the Drive Through Records thing because people have mentioned wanting to do, we have obviously, for whatever reason, I think from like a biography standpoint or autobiographical standpoint, we were very in the Fueled by Ramen universe. I wanted to see if this was officially a Drive Through Records release, and I'm going to read from the Wikipedia page, and you help me dissect what this means, okay?
Sure.
The group's label, Drive Through Records, had a distribution deal which allowed MCA Records to acquire their bands. After MCA Records was absorbed into Geffen in mid-2003, the band, so the Starting Line that is, spent most of 2004 writing and demoing songs for their next album. Following pre-production in July 2004, the band began recording for Based on a True Story, finishing in September. Prior to the album's release, Bedroom Talk was issued as a single in April 2005, and the band went on to tour, debuting a handful of songs from the album. Based on a True Story was released through Drive Through and Geffen on May 10th. Is that just a weird recording industry way of saying this is a Drive Through Records album? Or I guess I was like, wait, is this not Drive Through Records? Help me out there.
It's like when you watch any movie, especially indie ones, it's like produced by, in association with, like also partnered with the studios. It's just like, I don't know who worked on this. I don't really give a shit. Just like play the fucking movie. And maybe that's kind of where we're at here, which by the way,
that's the punkest thing you've ever said, dude. The label.
This makes me think of totally sidetracked, but the first time I ever hung out with this girl, Hannah, who's like my first love, I got super nervous, and for some reason, not knowing how to be a 16-year-old with a crush, she asked me to come over for a movie, and I was like, can Pat come too?
Oh my God. Did it go down like that?
Yeah, and we watched...
Oh, was it Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys?
And the first thing that came up on the screen... And the first thing that came up on the screen, it just said Egg Productions, and you're like, no, not an Egg Production.
Now that you say that, so dude, funny. Why the was I there, man?
Because you liked her too.
Yeah, but not like in a way that was going to get... Okay, there's more. This is not what that is. But I remember being exposed to art that was cooler than myself while being in that universe. But you talk about that specific instance. Like there was a night where we were all over at that house watching one of the Summer Olympics, I forget what. And it was like, Sam McGarvey was there. It was like a thing. But now that you mention it, it's like, yeah, it seems a pretty intimate setting. A small crowd of 3. Let's watch an Emile Hirsch movie. Don't love Emile Hirsch. For whatever that's worth. Okay. But
really?
Solid movie. I don't know. Is he good? Like, it's not even like a Nick Cage thing with where I bet in Communities, like, is he the bad kind of good or the good kind of bad? I just think Emile Hirsch might be an awful actor. I think it's very possible, actually. Okay. Anyway, happy to be there to provide support, but I think we can say, in hindsight, definitely didn't need to be there. But for your sake, it might have been a much different evening for you if I hadn't, actually. But we just dutifully watched Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys start to finish. Okay. Back to the Starting Line. Do we have any fast facts? Or are we sorting through whether or not this is a drive-through release? Most of what we wanted to get accomplished.
I think it was a drive-through release. I don't know, released by drive-through and major label MCA Records. So maybe they just use them for the distribution, whatever.
Gotcha.
Also UMG and Geffen, who cares? I don't know. Does it change the album itself?
Emile Hirsch, dude. Was it ever... Oh, man. Never mind.
So this album, it had some pretty incredible producers behind it. Howard Benson,
he had promise, but it never... somebody else could have done much more within the End of the Wild movie is all I'll say. I'll stop there. I'll stop. I could understand the promise at the time. He was a young boy. He was a young man. I'm not here to hate on, what we all thought at the time. It was similar to the fame arc of the Academy is, perhaps. I could see why there was promise. Anyway, let's just reel it back.
Okay.
All right.
So, yeah, the whole album was produced by Tim O'Hare. This song specifically produced by Howard Benson, who's Tim O'Hare and Howard Benson have done everything that we talk about. Chris Lord-Alge was the mixer. So they had a lot of money, probably where the MCA came in with their deep pockets, getting those big league guys. But yeah, a lot of effort put into it. I think they were, riding the high of the last album. And
can we call him Daddy Fat Sacks? Stacks.
Daddy Fat Sack. No, it's Fat Sacks now.
Okay, yes. I've actually, one of our listeners who tweets has texted that to me once, and I thought that was just a funny collection of words. But whenever the big boys were brought in for a band's effort, can we say that they call it Daddy Fat Stacks from now on?
Sure.
Okay. So are you confirming here right now on the show, years later, that they call it Daddy Fat Stacks?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So Daddy Fat Stacks was called, and how did that go for them?
I mean, it sounds great. I don't know. They recorded in a bunch of studios, whatever.
Which is high praise from you. I mean, you're quite the stickler for the snare tones, things like that.
It's good.
You don't sound very enthused.
No, it's fine. I just want to talk about the music video and the song. First time we heard it.
Gotcha. Getting caught up too much. Yeah, the label, to quote my punk friend Tom. Okay, yes. Where were you when? I'll go first. I realize every day that my wife was a bigger emo kid than I was, in much deeper and more interesting sense of what it was to be that. There's a picture of her with black hair and a drum set in her room, wearing like armbands on her wrists and stuff, watching Fuse all day long. She'd be like, "Hey, have you done This Story So Far video on the show?" And I'm like, "Well, Tom, I don't really know them that well." And she's like, "What did you listen to? Did you only listen to Blink-182?" I'm like, "You know me too well and are cutting me too deep with too much efficiency right now." But when I sometimes we'll be having some wine and we'll go through the YouTube wormhole, and this will come up more often than not. I think so. That's how I kind of became to grow, kind of retroactively love this song a lot. I think it's obvious if you listen to the show that Best of Me was my favorite Starting Line song at the time. But if you go back and look at this, Kenny's on one, and we'll get into, it's not always have to be a him versus Tyson debate, even though it's funny in my mind. Tyson Ritter from All American Rejects, that is. But Kenny's working it. He's got a huge round bass in this. It's an oddly large bass guitar. We can get into that later maybe, but the camera loves him. He's working it. He's swooping. He's swaying. He may not be as classically handsome as Tyson, but in this video, he is he's working. The camera loves him. He's working. He's
making
swooping.
love to the camera, Pat.
It's bedroom talk with him in the lens for sure. I gotta say, there's kind of a newfound retroactive love for this song and this band in general. Like you said, maybe we didn't personally love them as much at the time, as in depth and as intimately as we should. But man, this could have so easily. You wonder who the Sherpas were, who told us about what, when. This could have been similar to Jimmy Eat World, like a multiple album, deep album, bus ride band for us.
Yeah, for some reason, I think it must have been James, who was in our soccer club. We reference him a lot. He introduced us to A Static Lullaby, Rufio, and The Starting Line. And this would have been 2004, it would have been 2005. And I do remember just typing The Starting Line into Kazaa or LimeWire and downloading every single thing that I could find. I had probably 8 or 9 songs, and this was one of them that was on there. But it took me. I still feel uncomfortable listening to this song.
Yeah,
I think
just we had to get to it at some point.
So. Okay, irishcatholicguild.com. I just re-upped on our subscription to that domain.
You can tell with that sentence alone that we don't have an accountant that works on the show's finances. Hey, Tom, did you get through the important budget items? Yeah, I re-upped on irishcatholicguild.com. Cool. Redirects to the site. Awesome.
What's even worse is I got a bulk discount for owning more than 10 domains through hover.com.
You know what? is really telling about the show's finances, and we don't have to actually keep this in, is that's how many domains we have. And guess how many skeleton suits I have, Tom? It's zero. Zero is what it is. So in the next fiscal year, our board of trustees will definitely be asking some questions for sure.
So, okay. So I am 14 when I discover this, and I probably, just very recently started dating this girl whose like whole family was so absolutely Christian, and they kind of sucked me into it, and I was made to feel so uncomfortable with like any kind of intimacy, display of affection, whatever. And I just knew that Best of Me was the greatest song ever written, so I downloaded everything I could find. And Bedroom Talk came up, and it is the horniest song like that I could immediately pull out of my brain. And I didn't take it off my iPod, but I skipped it every time because it made me feel like I was sinning just listening to it.
Tom, now as a career sinner, you are, no, I'm just kidding. We give All Time Low, like tongue in cheek, a lot of guff for being the horniest band of the era. And if you take a look at Best of Me and Bedroom Talk, two of the bigger, hits / singles from this band, kind of a thirsty vibe. I actually texted you the other day, like, should we do a thirst draft? Like, are there enough songs like this, Misery Business, some things that like, could we pull it off? Are there enough songs that are just straight depining like corner of what it is to be in the emo verse, I guess? Like there's like a corner of just like straight up like, I guess, wanting someone to be your significant other enough that there's songs that represent like, I guess the very physical, I guess specifically physical nature of it. This being, I guess, Exhibit A and Exhibit A alone, right?
Yeah. And still, even to this day, like it might have been like 3 days ago, I played it for my wife, and it's funny because I just keep finding out that she's like, way more punk than I was. Like she was like,
yes, our wives will be taking over the show soon.
It was like 11:30 at night. She's 6 months pregnant, and she's like yelling the words to MXPX in bed as we were like already had the lights off. We were going to sleep, and she's like, I want to listen to MXPX. And it's just like, damn, I just don't know so many of these songs and these bands. But I was playing this song for her, and I was like, isn't this like aggressively sexual? And she's like, I don't know, I think it's kind of cute. And I was like, oh, okay, well, A, married the right woman, but B, I don't know. I've held on to this. Again, I was very timid as a kid. Like we can get into the music video and kind of start exposing some of these stories of like who I was at 15. Yeah, let's get into the video.
Let's dive in. We got a band in a box. And by that, I mean, we're starting to stack videos where, I don't know if it's a budget thing. Again, whether or not Daddy Fat Stacks had input on how little the box was that the band was going to be recording it. We talked about Taking Back Sunday in an old refrigerating or like bulk freezer, Blink-182 in that bank vault, if that's what that was. But they're in a very closed space, but there's a very vibrant story that unfolds. Kenny, can we talk about the bass real quick? Did it seem large and round, the head of the bass to you? Like I guess he's the lead singer, so there's got to be attention. But like, if the bass player wasn't the lead singer and they had that showy of a bass, just size and shape wise, I feel like I'd be mad if I was the rest of the band. Like, relax. I don't know. Like, any thought? I know we're a pro bass show, as I mentioned earlier, but
know your place. All right,
that thing is like the size of a wok in like a, you know what I mean? Like you could cook a restaurant's worth of fried rice on that thing. It's just there's a lot of surface area, is what I'm saying. It's big.
Maybe he's just small. I didn't think it really like stuck out.
Is Kenny's bass large, or is Kenny just a small human? That's tough. Famous people can be deceptively small. I don't know if that applies to Mr.
Cruise,
Visoli.
Yeah.
True. A lot of people compare the two. I think I might have asked this question before on the show during the Best of Me episode. Which Kenny hair era is the best?
Haera.
Love that so much, Tom. You just Jamie Lawled over this whole show once again. That's terrific. Yes. Which haera was best for Kenny? This one, if you don't remember, visualize just brown, probably his natural hair color down to his shoulders, straight as the scene might have demanded at the time.
Yeah, as Mayday Parade would have become known for. I think definitely not this era as his best. I'm
kind of here for like the Island era Curly Kenny. That was an interesting one, I think.
Because, like, it wasn't much better in the Best of Me music video, but I also think his shirt was working against him as well. Maybe if he was wearing a less ill-fitting shirt, it would have drawn less attention. I don't know.
Ill-fitting or appropriately tight for the era? An important distinction.
Too appropriately tight for the era.
Gotcha. Also, I wonder if Gerard Way was picking off of his short blonde Best of Me era haera for the Black Parade stuff, but that's a whole other egg to crack.
Interesting.
Yes, so I guess the question is not this one.
Not
Kenny's learning stuff about himself, or maybe he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to get back to El Natural for our second major album here. But not that it was their second, but
keep in mind, I'm nobody. Who cares what I think?
Oh, that's true.
Whatever. I'm just a guy.
That's true. Hey, I did, Tom. I did not think that would be the question that would make us question our own validity. Because there's a lot more questions to go, so let's just pace ourselves. Thoughts? Let's take it down a notch, make it a little more simple. They're performing. One of the band members has an orange brand amp. I always thought they looked amazing. I've asked this question on the show before. Thoughts on the orange amp? I don't even know if they're good quality. I just think they're cool.
So I remember everyone who toured through Erie in 2007, who were probably all very similar genres, like either like this or in the vein of like I Am the Avalanche. They all had orange amplifiers, and it was interesting because I do remember kids at a show being like, yeah, like orange cabinets are cool, but like their amps aren't super good. So it was like less cool to have an orange amp and cabinet. And then at some point, people started having black orange cabinets and amps.
I think that's when the scene starts to overthink itself, I think. It's like, okay, I guess this is cool.
It was like so like fake modest where it's like, yeah, I've got an orange amp, but like we don't like need to talk about it if you don't want to. But like, we could, but like we don't need to.
You're talking about it right now, guy.
So, I loved them. I always thought it was so cool. I remember like I was really into like the gear that we had as a band through which 400 par, just we were 16, we got whatever our parents bought us for Christmas, but no, we were hardworking boys. But and even through like the Good Fight, like I wanted to look like professionals, but at this time orange was it was like every cool band had orange amps. They had that cool like badge in the middle of it. God damn, orange amps were cool.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. But yeah, so there were, after the shots of we're establishing who the band is, how small of a box they're playing in, and then we see Kenny in a car with a girl. Okay, love interest in the emo verse, not surprising. Let's see where this goes. Question: car stuff, often portrayed in TV and music videos. Thoughts on car stuff, and have you ever accomplished car things?
Car things. I started writing out like, no. And then, well, okay, I wrote no. It didn't take that long. And then like, I thought about it. And the more I thought about it, I changed it to ... yes. And I think that's, I don't know. You
don't have to elaborate. A gentleman shouldn't ask and a gentleman shouldn't tell. No. But I will say this. There was one party at some point in my life where that was the situation and I had accidentally turned the headlights on and everyone walking by was able to witness the situation. And we'll move on from there. Okay. I've said too much. Okay. So this individual makes the first move, or his love interest in this video. Yeah. The girl, yes. Kenny seems to be playing non-Kenny in real life in this video, because there's a couple, if you watch him on any live performance at all during this 5-year stretch, he looks like he's exhausted from sex, just visually, like the Jimmy Kimmel show. So for him to have his hand like stiffen up like, what? Is like, okay. Maybe if this was the Best of Me album, but it's not. You've been at this. You've been touring. You've been hitting those, Anyway, he's like, his hand like stiffens in the shot, and it's like, yeah. Anyway, she makes the first move, and it's like, whoa, okay, good for Kenny.
I've always let the girl make the first move because I was always so terrified of like them not really wanting it, you know? And I feel like that's why I've kissed so few girls in my life. I've just never done it. It's scary. I am Kenny in this music video. What? Like, you're gonna invite me over to watch a movie alone, but I'm not gonna get that you like me. I'm gonna invite my friend to come with us.
Please let well, hey, I was there. It's like, cool. I know more about Emile Hirsch's career at this point. Thanks, Tom. Bye, the two of you. Okay. Yeah, I will say this. I'll say this. I don't want to say anything more about that. Okay, next thing. Kenny. So we talk a lot about the Pete Wentz lick salute before playing. Kenny does a little brush the dirt off the shoulder before playing a note here, which, I want to revisit this a little bit as we go through. Kenny is working it throughout this whole video. This might be an instance where he goes a little over the top, but I got to say, he's not leaving anything. He's leaving it all out there. I'll say that. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thoughts on this particular move?
It's like he's trying to cram 4 music videos worth of performance into one. Is kind of how it feels. I think it's again, love Kenny, love this band.
Oh,
it's a
here
little
we go.
Fucking awkward though.
Okay.
And it's like he hasn't grown into like his stardom yet. And watching like old A Day to Remember music videos, Jeremy's performance is like a little awkward, but then you watch one like 10 years later and it's the same moves that he does, but he does it with like confidence. Which
is understandable. Like,
yeah,
these are just garage bands that got huge because there was such a weird demand for this. I guess
right.
Yeah, it is interesting. But then, can you blame him when Pete Wentz on the other side of the scene is doing literal thumb lick salutes? It's like, this pales in comparison. So it's just interesting to see like the varying degrees of like, you got Paramore flipping over each other's backs and whatnot. It's just like, okay, let's add, there was kind of and Taking Back Sunday swinging the mic around like a freaking lasso. Like, there's enough showmanship going on throughout, kind of the bands we talk about that. This is tame in comparison, but also when you see it in a vacuum, it's kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, okay.
I have an example. So a friend paid me when he was in college. He was in the Chinese program, and he's like, "Hey, we got to do this video. Can you just come and film it for me so I don't have to like worry about it?" And I just made this like glide cam, like a steady cam rig, and I was really excited to test it out. So as I was filming, I kept doing these like sweeping shots that I thought looked really cool, and like that one clip looked really cool. But then when I started to edit the whole short video together, like 3 minutes, it was just shot after shot of this like intense movement and flowing. And it was like, when you put all the shots together, it was like, God damn, that's way too much. But like each individual clip looks pretty cool on its own. I think that might be what we have here, is just not thinking of the video, the product as a whole, trying to get that really good moment in every clip. But when they're all back to back, it's a little much.
I think editors have almost a disturbing amount of power. They're given all the fresh, raw cuts. It's like when you piece it together, you can make several different versions of the video, I'm sure. So,
yeah.
That's an interesting point there for sure.
Hello, everybody. Here I am, right back at it again. Just like I always said. Anyway, we are here to thank our Patreon supporters, our emo elders, the Council of Elders in this group, the top tier Patreon supporters. We have Andre Prevost, Johnny Leftwich, Jason Carey, Chris Lukey, and Anonymous. Huge shout out to our Council of Elders. Thank you all so much for contributing, and thank you to everyone in our Patreon group. The day this episode is airing, Pat and I will be together at my house in Asheville filming a video AMA, answering all of our Patreon supporters' questions and doing a bunch of behind-the-scenes discussions and conversations for the Patreon supporters. Really exciting stuff happening in there right now. We've got some super secret projects only our Patreon supporters are kind of halfway in on at the moment. So if you'd like to check that out, you can head over to patreon.com/reminiscent. But thank you to everyone who supports the show. Thank you to everyone who listens. We love you all so, so, so much. But let's not drag it out any longer. Let's get back to the show.
Just a quick aside that has nothing to do with that. Sorry, everybody. The drummer of this band is my favorite person. I always think it's just Chris Parnell doing a long like doing an undercover like that no one talks about. It's just Chris Parnell weirdly. But no, this guy is like emotionless always, and he shows up in the video again. But you think he would be like for as robotic as he is, just doing his job, there's a little blonde hair. There's a little bit of bleached hair streak. And it's just a little touch. And it's the same way in the Best Me video. And somehow this man is my hero, but I don't know, like, I haven't explored why. And I don't know if I have the time to in this lifetime. I'm not sure, but I fucking love this guy so much. He's just so unassuming and quiet, doing his job dutifully. Little bit of flash right on the hair. And I love it so much.
As a drummer myself, it was always really funny when like people would photograph our shows and you'd see the pictures and like Instagram versus reality, or it's like what's happening in your head versus reality. And I feel like I'm Travis Barker just killing it. But like when I see the pictures, I'm like just exactly like this drummer, barely cracking a smile, just like looking at his hi-hat deep in concentration is mostly what I looked like. And there's a close-up of the drummer on this video and Best of Me where it's that same thing where he's just like looking blankly at his hi-hat with this tiny little smile like, I'm happy to be here, but I'm not going to give you much more of that.
There you go.
But again, Kenny's taken the energy.
Yeah, this is about Kenny. Make no mistake, Kenny's the star here.
We talked about this in First Date.
He's the Gwen
Mark
Stefani.
Can't be what
of the scene? No, I take all of that back. Reel that back in. Sorry I interrupted you to say that, which is really the tragedy of what just happened. Please, I cede the floor.
No, I'm over it, Pat. Let's move on.
Wow. Okay, let's move. Let's move right on. Some lyrics that I thought might stand out to you, just being your friend. I've got big plans. I just don't know what I want. Thoughts?
Well, they cut this pre-chorus short. There's more to it than that.
You know who I blame?
The album version.
Daddy Fat Stacks.
Daddy
the
Fat Stacks.
CEO of Hot Topic GameStock. Just kidding. I don't know what that was. My brain. It's like when you have a dream and so many memories from a week just like rush into your mind, and the dream is just like a shit show of, collection of things. That's what that sentence was. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's just keep it on down the line. Kenny gets out of the car after the first shot, and
we're only on the first shot.
I know.
My God.
gotta get it going. Falls. I think he's a little more coordinated than that, but I think we're portraying like the emo loser or whatever, I guess.
Right.
Similar to the Jimmy Eat World, the middle video where they, the loser's going to the party, because what we see next is he opens the door, we're at a house party. He knows what he's looking for. I think maybe he's been to this house before, because he goes up. So he gets up to the top of the stairs, and we have a situation where there's a bunch of doors, and that's basically the rest of the video. That's what we're going to be talking about as we finish this episode of this show. And there's like a loose theme behind two of the doors, but not all of them. But I guess there's a larger picture. It's tough. You tell me. Tweet @_reminiscent FM if you think there's any rhyme or reason to any of what happens next. The first door, he finds a younger version of himself, which is like, okay. And he's being taught the birds and the bees on an easel. There's a diagram, cartoon people, birds, bees. He's like a child, I guess, in this, or a smaller humanoid version of himself, weirdly.
It's so, yeah, they just like green screened him and scaled him down. So it's like his exact body, but just like 40% smaller on the
Yes,
couch.
it's a little jarring,
so
especially for the second time they do this in the video, which is coming soon. But it speaks to his like health class take on sex, on what's happening in the song. They're talking about getting after it.
And it seems like a parent, because he's kind of like showing the diagram. It's like, the stenciled boy with like a bird over his no regions, as you might tell a child, and the bees are over the girls, and the dad points to them with the pointer and then like wags his finger at Kenny, like just no, which is funny because that's how I felt as a 15-year-old listening to this song, just like, boy, girl, don't put them together. And that's like what made me so uncomfortable about this song. So like that talk is like basically what was just like indoctrinated in me from like Catholic school, my girlfriend's parents, all that stuff. So
yes.
Ooh, can't really.
Meanwhile, in the video, they're cutting back to the band. Kenny's doing like a phone thing with his hands, swooping, swaying, dancing, working the camera, and simultaneously working his way into my heart. They cut back to the upstairs instance. They go into door 2. He straight up walks in on a couple. Door 3 walks in on, wait for it, don't wait for it, here we go. The drummer, the unassuming drummer, my favorite man in the history of people. I'm still not convinced it isn't Chris Parnell. As also a boy, kind of like with a twirly top hat thing situation, on a stool, his feet are kicking. With him in the room, this is not a sex education course, are two like, I guess you'd say like sexy babe, track babes who are supposed to be in this like car wash scene, you know what I'm saying?
They came right from the Forever the Sickest Kids video shoot.
Sure, that's a very good way to describe what's happening here. But they're not washing a car. They're in a room with the child mini humanoid version of the drummer washing a little red tricycle, as if it were a car. And they're just there looking the way they do. And the drummer looks over at Kenny like, what are you going to do? And he just shrugs his shoulders. And Kenny's like, what the is happening in this video? Anyway, that's a whole, I don't even know if we have time to unpack that, so we won't. Moving on. Door 4, lots of doors. Nice house. Okay. This one is just a functioning bar. There's just a bar behind this door. And there's a blonde at the bar pouring him a martini. He's kind of like, has a moment to, I guess, indulge on someone who isn't the significant other that kissed and made the move first in the car. This is him refusing his chance at that kind of. This house is insane, by the way. What the hell kind of, it's like the party from Grandma's Boy or something going on. There's just so much happening all at once. Then we get to the bridge. Thoughts on any of the doors up to this point?
I'm just wondering if very Meow Wolf-esque, right?
Hey, just there you go. Wow. Meow Wolf-esque. My New Mexico boy.
I'm just wondering, like, what is this all a metaphor for? It's a little disconnected.
He feels too young to be doing this stuff. Maybe the drummer's like, hey, we're exposed to this too much sexuality. It's like, this is a little much for me. I'm just a kid and life is a nightmare. If you don't mind me going there. So maybe that's what they're trying to say. On the surface, it's kind of like that card in the Dirty Little Secret video where he's like, I make fun of fat people all the time, but my mom is huge, which seems funny on the surface. But then when you read it, it's like, oh, there's many layers to this. So maybe it's just like, hey, I feel like a boy still, but I'm expected to like oh God.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. I know when the episode airs, that's going to be a long multi-second bleep. And that's something that happened.
I'm embarrassed how quickly that came out.
Expected to. Exactly. Truer words never spoken. Okay. Thoughts on, that leads right into this next point that has nothing to do with any of that. Thoughts on bridges that are just the chorus but slower before going into a normal version of the same chorus.
I like it.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it on the show before. I'm gonna tear you like we just did. Gives Kenny a chance to stare deep into the camera once more.
And it's a little like subtle change of the melody.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're just simple guys looking for simple song structures. That's all this is. That's all this is. Okay, door 5, fifth upstairs door. Not even in the house, over so many bedrooms. The Zillow listing for this house would be bonkers. It's one of those things on Reddit where you're like, guess what I found on Zillow? There's like a tropical dungeon in this one. Random house in Pittsburgh. This one has like a functioning bar upstairs. 5 doors. Okay. Door 5, he finds the love interest. She pushes him under the bed. She was waiting for him to follow her into her own house party. Kind of like the logistics of the whole night are a little strange, but then we see the first scene of the video, which is her on a bed reaching into a box, which I guess we realize now is her getting a box of condoms, I guess, is what the viewer's supposed to take from all that.
I'd be interested to hear what the listeners think, because I feel like my brain was forced to think that first, but I don't know who would put condoms in a nice artisan box like that and keep it on like the top of their nightside table.
I don't know. Boxes, small, tiny, ornate boxes. It's an interesting question. @_reminiscent FM. Are there more small ornate boxes in girls' rooms than boys' rooms when they are of high school age? I guess would be my main question. I don't think our worlds have ever been ruled by small ornate boxes, but I don't know. Yeah, my mind, which dibs on the band name, I guess. I'm going to guess condom here. Anyway, that's the video basically, right? Kenny is, for as stiff as his hand was and as shocked as he was just minutes earlier, he runs upstairs and he Sorry. Bleep all of it? As much as the other ones were?
Well, no, he looks stunned. The girl like throws him onto the bed. He falls back looking surprised.
Yeah.
He's not like, how am I going to pull this off?
Yeah, he's a deer running through the woods at this point. He's just like, what? Nature? I'm just, listening to his body, listening to nature itself, running through the weirdest house in America.
Yeah, and that's the video.
That's the video.
Fun enough. I mean, it's a little bit of like, watch how hard these boys can rock. But they're also kind of like awkward and timid, which I don't think is probably true based on, like you said, things we've seen on Jimmy Kimmel and whatnot. But it's good enough, I guess. It's not going to win any Fuse Awards or anything, but it was interesting enough. Lots to speculate about the house.
Yeah.
Seems like an exhausting place to live.
I think we've dug up. True. I mean, someone's got to go clean those glasses. You know what I mean? That little bar thing where there's multiple sinks filled with different levels of soap as you slowly rinse and reserve people beverages. And that's a lot of work. I wonder how many people live there. If it's more of a commune type thing, it's hard to say. Okay, maybe like a couch surfing thing where it's like, yeah, the kitchen's upstairs, make yourself at home. Bedtime's at 10, wake up's at 8. We'll have some breakfast, but you don't have to be there. It's there's no rules, bro. Okay. Play your drums in whatever beat you want. Doesn't even have to be music. Yeah. Weird. Yeah. Lived in a house once where it was a couch surfing thing. And I will say, the more bohemian your lifestyle, the harder it is for you to keep a beat. This much I've learned. Okay. That's a whole thing. It's like, hey man, is this supposed to be a song or like we've been sitting here for a while? Okay. That's not what we're here to do. Okay. Sorry. Let's just wrap it up. Love the starting line. Fun video. Glad they got nice to revisit.
I hate hippies so much.
Yeah. It's one thing to be pro, like it's like getting the black orange amp. It's like, I don't like to talk about it, but I didn't want to be too. It's like, you're talking about it now, man. It's like, relax. Jeez. Okay.
Oh my God.
Hey, yeah. Good 3-album run by the starting line. Thanks for being here, everybody. Tip your waiters on the way out. They're in the third door on the left upstairs.
Let's give a song of the week.
Yeah, man. Oh, for sure, dude. Oh. So, hey, okay, I have one this week. Give me the Born Ruffians. It's called The Poet, in parentheses, Can't Jam, off of, I think they did 2 albums in 2020. This one's called Juice. I think the other one, excuse me, I think the other one was called Squeeze. But yeah, it's fun. I'm realizing, I guess, with every passing album that the Born Ruffians are one of my favorite bands. It's nice. It's a nice listen.
Cool beans. I am going to go with Barry by Michael Poggioli. I've talked about her before, Bad Snack. She's like a electronic instrumentalist. She does these like beat battles through her Discord and on Twitch and stuff. And this guy, I don't know what like his DJ name is, but he's putting out electronic music. But I found an old album of his, and this is like, I don't know. It's not that. It's interesting though, and it's good stuff. I'm excited to hear some of the other stuff that he's working on, but something that I'm just kind of like listening to for the first time today, kind of enjoying it. So top of mind, why not throw it on here?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to, in the post-show, talk about how we plan to bleep what gets bleeped in this particular episode. And, hippies, we're coming for you. I think that's the lesson we learned here today. All right. Thanks for listening. @_reminiscent FM on Twitter. Tom, I love you. On to the post-show.
Love you too, man. See you. Thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. It's nice to keep uncovering how much we actually love the starting line. We really do need to talk about them so much more. You can find the show notes for this episode at reminiscentpodcast.com/episode/210. And again, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/reminiscent. Please hit us up on Twitter @_reminiscentfm. And let us know what you think is happening in all of those downstairs rooms. How freaky does it get in this house? Thank you all so much. We'll talk to you next week. We'll love you all. Bye, everyone.